love thy neighbor as yourself. Now, if we can either subscribe to the world and become hostile, or we can subscribe to God's law and basically follow the second greatest commandment, which basically says, love thy neighbor as thyself. So if anything, we don't need to become hostile, we need to become more loving. And then number 3, we cannot afford, especially as Christians, to become numb or indifferent. That's why when I started off, I asked the question, what happened a week ago? We have to still continue to be in prayer for those who suffered the loss in El Paso, to be in prayer for those who suffered the loss in Dayton, Ohio, to be in prayer for anytime you hear of somebody who's going through something, whether it be in the news or whether it be in person, you hear it at your job, school, or wherever. We cannot afford to be numb and indifferent. We as Christians, we have to rise above that because we are ambassadors of Christ, and at all times we need to govern ourselves by what would Christ do? What would Christ do in this situation? How would he think in this situation? What would please him in this situation? So we cannot be numb or indifferent. My brothers and sisters, I encourage you to encourage yourself. Start there. Don't let doubt and confusion creep in. I am telling you, the enemy's tactics have not changed, and he is still using that in 2019. His playbook hasn't changed. He's still using the same plays in 2019. He's just convinced himself that his plays are going to continue to work. Well, we here, basically, as Christian brothers and sisters, we have to have the commitment to say, you know what, we're not here. Your playbook, what you're trying to do, you are a liar, you are a deceiver, you're trying to sour our relationship with God. That's not going to happen up in here. It's not going to happen up in here at this church. It's not going to happen in our respective households. I'm not going to take that at my job. You can have different people coming at me at my job, at school, out in the community. But guess what? You're not going to win. Because God already has the victory, and so therefore I have the victory. So therefore you are not going to win. I'm going to read this to you, and I do understand that sometimes harm will come our way, but I think it is an inspiring scripture, and I'll close it out with this. I'm going to read to you Psalm 121. And it says, I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch your going, your coming, and your going, both now and forevermore. Now I read that to you because I want you to be inspired, and I want you to understand that if it's within the will of God, God can keep you from all hurt, harm, and danger. But just like Deacon Hill said last week, and I'm going to borrow from Deacon Hill, just like he said last week, with the 3 men who was basically facing certain death if they didn't bow down to the king's idol. Basically, what did he say? He says, but even if you don't, I know you're capable of delivering me, but even if you don't, I still have my trust and my faith in you. Amen. See, if something bad happens to me, I have to have the recognition that, yeah, God was able to keep it from happening, but there's a reason that it is happening. I can point back to some bad things that have happened in my life or some bad experiences that I have that basically goes to, and if you can put up our thought for the week again, that goes to the thought for the week. The thought for the week is the struggle you're in today is developing the strength you need for tomorrow. And this is absolutely true. I can point to some things I've gone through in my life, struggles I've gone through in my life, some discomfort I've gone through in my life that has helped strengthen me to the person that I am today. So ultimately, like it says up here, don't give up. My brothers and sisters, stay encouraged. And more important than that, let us continue to encourage one another. We have to support one another. Put it like this, it's critical. Just like in a household, if a mother and a father, if brothers and sisters don't support one another, then how in the world are you going to expect some support from outside your home? If you catching hell, and I'm sorry, but I'm using it in the right context, if you catching hell in your house, then bottom line is, how can you expect some support? We got to support one another. In our households, we need to support and uplift one another. At this church, we got to support and uplift one another. There's enough hell, if you will, and I'm using it in the right context, going on outside. If you want trouble, I ain't got to walk too far down the street and I can find some trouble. But the bottom line is, we got to support one another. These times are hard. These times are difficult. But the victory has already been won. All we have to do is what God has already told us to do, which is to love and support one another while proclaiming the good news of the gospel. So I'm imploring you, and I hope I'm inspiring you to stay encouraged in your private moments. When doubt starts to creep in, understand that doubt and that confusion is not of God. Because God is not a God of confusion and doubt. If it's doubt and confusion, it's not God. You should show it the door immediately. And I ain't even talking in a nice way. I mean, now don't use no unsavory words, but just show it, show it the door. Show it the door. Because the bottom line is God is not a God of doubt and confusion. God is a God of peace. And so with that being said, that is the message for this morning.
Amen.